This is the Recycling, Scrap Metal, Commodities, and Economic Report, September 15, 2025. U.S. weekly raw steel production rose to 1.795 million tons, up 7.7% from last year and up 1.9% year to date. This was on continued slow U.S. manufacturing and the 50% steel tariff protection, which protects the U.S. steel industry but raises prices. WTI crude oil price rose to $62.56 a barrel on threats by the U.S. to impose sanctions on Russian oil. U.S. weekly crude oil production rose to 13.495 million barrels per day. U.S. producers see the possible sanctions on Russian oil as a major opportunity. They would bring higher prices, higher production, and higher profits. The U.S. weekly crude oil rig count rose to 416 as producers remain cautious. As discussed, though, the possible Russian oil sanctions are a major opportunity. Scrap steel number one HMS price composite remained steady at $311.67 a gross ton on steady global and U.S. demand with good supply. Hot rolled coil steel price rose to $40.35 a hundredweight, which is $807 a ton on steady demand and good supply. Copper price rose to $4.65 a pound on a tight supply and good demand. The coming lower U.S. interest rates will help demand and prices. Aluminum price rose to $1.22 a pound, which is $2,700 a metric ton on U.S. aluminum tariffs and Guinea supply disruptions. The U.S. federal budget deficit reached $2 trillion through the 11 months of this year, which is up, as in worse, by $100 billion from last year. Spending is up 5% despite the publicized spending cuts. Federal debt as a percent of GDP, which is gross domestic product, which is the economy, is increasing despite record tariff revenue and spending cuts. U.S. September U of M consumer sentiment dropped to 55.4. The declines are mostly from middle and lower income households. They had concerns over business conditions, jobs, and the increasing inflation rate. U.S. August annual inflation rate rose to 2.9% as food and used cars rose the most. Prices are up, but this could be a one-timer as tariffs start being passed along. That's bad for consumers, but if it's a one-time increase, interest rates will come down. The U.S. average 30-year fixed mortgage rate fell to 6.35%, the lowest in about a year. Last week, home purchase applications year over year increased the most in 4 years. U.S. August NFIB Small Business Optimism Index rose to 100.8, the highest since January. The top concerns, though, were the tariff-related inflation and labor quality. Wall Street's Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 433 points to 45,834, hitting a record high last Thursday. Some companies, though, are reporting lower profits due to absorbing tariffs. The softening job market brings lower interest rates, which is a major positive. This report is brought to you by Ben Lee, Roll-Off Trailers, Gondola Trailers, Lugger Trucks, and Roll-Off Trailer and Roll-Off Truck Parts. This is Gregory Brown reporting. As always, feel free to call or email me with any questions, and we hope all have a safe and profitable week.